Welcome back, Focus Learners. Today, we're jumping into a brand new explainer, and we're going to do a real deep dive analysis into a recent and honestly super profound message from Father Joel Jamarsiskatis. We're unpacking the whole concept of true greatness and the quiet power of humility. It's all about how the roots we cultivate in private totally determine the heights we can actually reach in public. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this with a pretty wild, visceral, real-world event that recently happened in Pampanga, in the Philippines. Picture this. You've got this massive, towering 9-story building. It's an imposing structure, right? But then, during a really severe windstorm, this colossal building didn't just sway a bit, it completely collapsed. It was just a shocking event that left a lot of people reeling.
So, that obviously begs a crucial question. Why did such a tall building collapse? I mean, it's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? We look at a towering 9-story structure and we just automatically assume it's completely unshakable. But it failed, and it failed rapidly.
Well, the investigation's findings were as simple as they were tragic. Despite all that impressive height, the building fell because its foundations were incredibly thin and completely shallow. They built upward super fast, reaching right into the sky, but they completely neglected to dig deeply enough into the earth.
Section 1. The weak foundation. Now, what's really interesting about this is how perfectly this physical building acts as a spiritual metaphor for our own lives. Think about it. We constantly want to build upward, right? We're chasing the higher salary, the elevated status, the public recognition. But if we achieve all of that height without simultaneously digging downward to build a foundation of humility and character, we become dangerously top-heavy. When the inevitable storms of life hit us, those shallow roots guarantee our own personal downfall.
Which brings us to Section 2, the deepest roots. Let's actually shift our focus away from man-made buildings and look at the natural world for a second. Nature teaches us this powerful paradox. True growth absolutely requires downward depth long before it can support upward height.
There's this fantastic quote from the source: "The highest tree has the deepest roots." Think about a massive tree going through a crazy typhoon or an earthquake. Why doesn't it fall over when concrete buildings crumble? It's definitely not because of its height. In fact, branches heavy with leaves just catch more of the wind. It withstands a storm purely because of its deep, unshakable grip on the earth beneath it. Moving right along to Section 3, the truly great. This completely redefines what greatness actually looks like, and it serves as the theological anchor for what we're talking about today. The source recounts this fascinating story from the Gospel of Mark. You have James and John, two of Jesus' disciples, coming to him with a wildly ambitious request. They basically want VIP seating right next to Jesus in his kingdom. They were looking for top-tier, high-status positions.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive clash of mentalities going on here. The world says greatness is defined by how many servants you have and prioritizing your position. But Jesus completely flips the script. He teaches that whoever wishes to be great must actually be the servant. It's not about your position at all. It's entirely about your disposition. He really hammered home that the Son of Man came to serve, not to be served.
And I want to pause here for a second, because this next mantra is just wow. Do not put your success into your head, and do not put your sorrow into your heart. Really let that sink in. If you let success go to your head, it breeds this toxic pride. You become that shallow-rooted building we talked about earlier. And if you let sorrow sink deeply into your heart, it creates a crushing hopelessness. The key here is keeping gratitude in your soul and God at the center so you stay totally grounded in your victories and perfectly resilient when you're suffering.
Section 4. Heart before society. Now, you might be wondering, does this personal interchange actually matter on a larger scale? It absolutely does. We're going to look at some historical proof right now that shows how profound interchange directly drives monumental societal progress.
The source points us straight to 1800s England, and the reality there was incredibly grim. We're talking highly polluted, dirty rivers, smelly streets, and rampant, systemic corruption among government officials. And worst of all, the public suffered from widespread hunger and crushing, severe poverty. The society was basically rotting from the inside out.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an amazing turnaround. It happened in 4 really clear steps. First, a major Christian revival swept the nation, sparking real interchange in the people. Second, that internal shift created honest businessmen who simply stopped bribing corrupt officials. Third, those same entrepreneurs started providing fair wages. Instead of paying the bare minimum, they voluntarily paid a daily living wage, and they even used their profits to build schools.
All of this naturally culminated in step 4, a complete and total societal transformation.
And the source material makes a really fascinating comparative argument here. We constantly try to fix broken nations with systemic, structural attempts. Constitutional change, amending laws, holding rallies, or just changing presidents. But the argument is that those external tweaks fundamentally fail to eradicate the root of a nation's problems. Why? Because corruption doesn't live in a legal system. It fundamentally resides right in the human heart. So the absolute prerequisite for real national progress is character change, an inner spiritual renewal.
On a practical level, when your foundation is rooted in Christ, true personal change is highly specific. It means going from being constantly angry to becoming deeply patient. It's shifting from a selfish mindset of hoarding to genuine generosity, and moving from complaining all the time to being truly thankful for what you have. When you get enough people making those inner shifts, you naturally get honest workers, loving families, and ultimately a fundamentally better nation.
So after everything we've looked at today, from collapsing buildings to the historical transformation of nations, I want to leave you with one very personal thought. Where's the foundation of your life planted? Are you just building higher and higher, chasing status with a dangerously shallow root system? Or are you actively taking the time to dig deep, anchoring your life in humility and strong character? It's absolutely a question worth sitting with today, because when the storms hit, and they always do, your height isn't going to save you, only your roots will. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep digging deep.